जता जा
जय जय वृंदावना वासी जता जा
जय द्विज पत्नी जय नाग कन्या गा
जय द्विजावती जय नागकन्या गा
भक्ति तेजा हारा पालो गोविंद चारा
भक्ति तेजहारा बैला गोविंद चारा
श्रीरस मंडला जय जय राधा श्याम
श्रीरस मंडला जय जय राधा श्याम
जय जय रासा लीला सर्व मनोरा
जय जय रासा लीला सर्व मनोरा
जय जय ज्वला रसा सर्वरसा सा
जय जय ज्वाला रसा सर्वरसा सा
परकीय भावे जहाँ ब्रजते प्रजा
परकीय भावे जहाँ व्रजते प्रजा
श्री जानवा पादा पद्मा कोरिया स्मरा
श्री जानवा पादा पद्मा कोरिया स्मरा
Hare Krishna. This is Maharashtra Prabhuji. Welcome to Kanya Desh.
रे नाम संकीर्तन
दीन कृष्ण दासा को है नाम
Hare
संगीता
Krishna.
जय राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे
जय राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे
जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे
Hare Krishna, Maharaj Prabhu. Hare Krishna, can you hear?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Dandot Pranams. Welcome to Kanya Desh.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Prabhuji, another 2 minutes. People are joining.
Am I audible, bro? Am I adequately
Yes,
audible?
Prabhuji. It's okay. It's clear.
I'll wait. Prabhuji.
2 minutes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Welcome all devotees to the Purushottam month Srimad Bhagavata Sravanam series. Today we are entering to the day 8, and today we'll be discussing on Canto 3, chapter 25 to 33 chapters. We are very fortunate to have with us His Grace Maha Raas Das Prabhuji with us today. He is disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Sai Maharaj, and Prabhuji has completed his BTech in IIT Kharagpur in the year of 2008. After he was working in multinational firms, and afterwards he joined with ISKCON Kolkata as a brahmachari, and he served in legal department and Govinda's tourism departments in ISKCON Kolkata. And also he served as youth teacher in IIT Kharagpur, NIT Durgapur, and HIT Haldia and IIT Dandibad. And he was preaching for around 6 years in IIT Dhanbad. He's completed his Bhakti Shastri and leadership management courses from Mayapur Institute and Bhakti Vaibhav course from Bhaktivedanta Vidyapith, and is an I-Leads graduate, a course conducted by ISKCON Leadership Department. And now he is teaching, working as a teacher for Bhakti Shastri courses and ISKCON disciple courses at his Mayapur Institute. And also he is preaching in ISKCON Calcutta, guiding a lot of many youths, and assists Bhaktivedanta Research Center, Calcutta. So a very high profile preacher. We are very fortunate to have today with us to enlighten us with Srimad Bhagavatam. On behalf of all Kanaya Desh devotees, I wish to welcome Prabhuji to this Purushottam month wonderful session by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times. All together, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please take over. Thank you very much.
I was asked to speak from third canto and basically teachings of Lord Kapila. Before we start, let us invoke the blessings of Supreme Lord and Guru Parampara by offering prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravamani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरकुसे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि प्रिय। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Matajis. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to serve all of you in some insignificant way. And you are the actually most intelligent people on the planet because you have decided to spend your Purushottam month by hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord. Actually, there can be nothing more auspicious than hearing glories of the Supreme Lord from Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, I have my own limitations and capabilities that I cannot reveal whole Bhagavatam, but I'll try my best in service of Guru Parampara. So this section of Srimad Bhagavatam that we are planning to discuss upon, I decided to take it in a different way. First, we'll go through a synopsis of this section from chapter 25 to chapter 33 of the third canto. And then I'll focus on one particular section where we sadhakas can learn some practical lessons for our application. That is from chapter 29. So let us begin with the chapter 25 because another point in this discussion is that we have very short time, only 1 hour, and there are 25 to 33, that means there are 9 chapters. So practically impossible to give detail of all the chapters. We can only go through synopsis of this section. Okay, so without further delay, chapter 25 begins with a question by Shonaka, and he wants to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapila, who was born as son of Kardam Muni, he disseminated transcendental knowledge, and Shonak Rishi is eager to know what transcendental knowledge he gave to everyone. He inquires. This is how this entire section begins. Shonak wants to know the transcendental knowledge that Lord Kapila taught. And this section further proceeds. Instead of directly speaking what Lord Kapila gave as his teachings, he talks about the conversation between Devahuti and Lord Kapila. So Devahuti is the mother of Lord Kapila. So she puts forward several questions in front of her own son. She knows that her son is not an ordinary son. Her son is a transcendental son who has risen in the horizon like a sun to dispel the ignorance of illusion. So she first glorifies him because she is well aware of his transcendental position. And she asks him to explain the position of Jiva, the living entities, and Prakriti, material nature. And in the same chapter, chapter 25, Lord Kapila speaks about Adhyatmic Yoga. So Adhyatmic Yoga is something like combination of Sankhya, Yoga, and Bhakti all together, all three together. And he also says that in order to perfect this Adhyatmic Yoga, uh, one has to one has to subdue the mind, and therefore he speaks about the pivotal role of mind and symptoms of a liberated mind. What kind of symptoms a mind which is liberated from material conditions has. And then while speaking about because he was speaking about Adhyatmic Yoga, which consisted of Sankhya means kind of Gyan Yoga, and yoga here means kind of Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti, all these three elements. So Gyan Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti. But towards the end of the chapter, he, from verse number 19, he rather proves to his mother that Bhakti stands out among all other yoga systems. Bhakti is better than Jnana Yoga, Bhakti is better than Sankhya Yoga. So uh, this section is quite technical, and therefore there are not many stories in this. Therefore, devotees may not like this section so much, having so many technicalities. So basically, then Lord Kapila proves the supremacy of bhakti over jnana and yoga, and it describes the characteristics of a sadhu. And in this 25th chapter, particularly, 21st verse is very important, which describes the glories of a sadhu, characteristics of a sadhu. Titikshava, Karunika, Suhrida Sarvadehinam, Ajata Shatrava Shanta, Sadhava Sadhu Bhushan. So he tells his mother that a sadhu is not to be identified with bald head or a beard or saffron dress. These are not the characteristics of a sadhu. Rather, a sadhu is to be identified with these qualities. Titiksha means tolerance, Karunika, compassion, and Suhrida Sarvadhainam, who is dear to all living entities, like our dear Srila Prabhupada. And he mentions, not just mentions, but recommends his mother to practice Bhakti Yoga. Among all the yoga systems, he recommends Bhakti Yoga for his mother. He rather says in verse 26 and 27 of this chapter that practice of Jnana and Ashtanga Yoga, is incomplete without Bhakti. And how to practice this Bhakti? You have to associate with Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. So 25th verse speaks about, so 3:25 is very important verse. Satam prasangad mama virya samvido bhavantir karnarasayana katha tajjoshanada shvapavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhakti manukramishati. So Lord Kapila says, my dear mother, please associate with the sadhus and hear from them my glories. And by that, the repetition of birth and death will cease for you. And first Shraddha, then Shraddha means faith, then attachment, and then Prema for me will develop. So first he describes the characteristics of sadhu, and then he recommends his mother to associate with sadhus. So Devhuti further inquires more questions. Her second question was, what kind of bhakti will help to easily attain you? This was second question. And third and fourth questions were, please explain jnana and ashtanga yoga and their limbs. So in verse number 32 and 33 of this chapter, Lord Kapila says that bhava bhakti or spontaneous bhakti will be best to attain me. And then obviously Lord Kapila has to describe the symptom of somebody who is on that platform of spontaneous bhava bhakti. So that is from verse number 34 to 38. And obviously the one cannot directly practice bhava bhakti. Therefore, Lord Kapila also describes Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti in two verses, 39 and 40. And finally, Lord Kapila concludes this chapter by saying that the greatest benefit possible can be achieved only by pure bhakti to me, not by mixed bhakti, but pure devotional service. Then, because in the 25th chapter, Devhuti wanted to know jnana, jnana and Ashtanga Yoga and their limbs. So, in order to answer her question, first Lord Kapila speaks about jnana in 26th chapter. So, 26th chapter is entitled as Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. So, it's a very technical section, and only if we have time can we discuss. But it's very technical section where he speaks about benefits of. First, he speaks the benefits of hearing this Sankhya or Jnana. One becomes free from modes, one attains self-realization, and when one cuts through the attachment to material world. So he very systematically describes this, and will not go in detail. And then in the 27th chapter, he further explains the material nature, how material nature works. So he speaks about the living entity, the jiva, in the conditioned state, how he is entangled in the conditioned state, and how the solution is to gradually control mind through bhakti and detachment gradually. Uh, so this entire chapter 27 speaks about the material nature. Only verse 11 speaks about the characteristics of Lord. It also, verse number 7 to 10, Lord Kapila also speaks about the qualities of a Jnani, that means a practitioner of Jnana Yoga, because Devahuti had inquired about it in the previous chapters. And yeah, so Devahuti uh, learns about material nature and in great detail the material nature, the characteristics of material nature and how material nature binds a living entity are given in this chapter. So Devuti has another question in this chapter. She says that now, according to Lord Kapila's description, she understood that Prakriti, that is material nature, and Jiva, living entity, they are attracted to each other. And unless Jiva becomes uh, detached from material nature, the liberation is not possible. So she wants to know how is liberation possible if Jiva is attracted to material nature, Prakriti, how is liberation possible? So to answer her question, Lord Kapila again recommends the intense practice of bhakti for a long time. So he says, Tivraya bhaktyam chiram. That means intense bhakti for a long time. It has to be intense, it cannot be lukewarm, and it has to be for a long time. So this is verse number 21, where he says, Tivraya bhaktaya chiram, for a long time. And Animitta nimittena. Animitta nimittena means without desire for fruitive results. That means a selfless performance of bhakti, intense bhakti for a long time, also mixed with uh, jnanena vairagyena, tapo yuktena, with mixed with austerity, knowledge and renunciation. So quite intense process recommended here. Lord Kapila also says that once one becomes liberated, then Prakriti cannot harm such an enlightened soul. And thus, liberation is possible. Finally, by Lord's mercy, he attains liberation with complete detachment and bhakti, and by Lord's mercy, he attains liberation. So, Devhuti's this understanding was clear. Now, since Devhuti also wanted to know the limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, so therefore, Lord Kapila begins the next chapter, 28th chapter, with a description of limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. So there are 8 Ashtanga means 8 limbs: Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. And Lord Kapila speaks about all of them briefly, but you will see that the title of 28th chapter is Lord Kapila's instructions on the execution of devotional service. Now we may be wondering if Lord Kapila was elaborating on Ashtanga Yoga, how could title the execution of devotional service? Yes. So this happens because ultimately in the yoga ladder, Ashtanga Yoga culminates in Bhakti Yoga. So therefore, ultimately, even an Ashtanga yogi practices Bhakti Yoga. So in first, Lord Kapila describes the 8 limbs, and then he goes in great detail. What is dharana? What is a sadhana of a person who is supposed to perform dharana? Then what is dhyan? So dharana means to have the darshan of Lord's face, eyes, bodily features like Shri Vatsa, Kaustubha, and his yellow lightning garments. And dhyan is even more specific. Dhyan is means dhyan refers to dhyan begins with the lotus feet of the Lord and ends with the beautiful laughter, smile of the Lord. So there are many, many beautiful verses in this chapter. Like the one I like very much is Hasam Hare Avanitakil Lokatibra Shokashru Shagara Vishoshanamatyudaram Samohanaya Rachitam Nijamaya Yasya Bhumandalam Munikrite Makaratvajasya. So this is the last verse of Dhyana. Lord Kapila says that a yogi who is practicing Ashtanga Yoga, he should meditate on the lotus face of the Lord. So hasam means his smile. He should focus on the ultimately he should focus on the smile of the Lord. Hasam hare avnita khile loka tibra. And this smile of the Lord can mitigate, can dissipate shok ashru. That means the tears of lamentation from his devotee's heart. The smile of the Lord mitigates the lamentation from his devotees. Asam Hare Avinitakhila Lokatibra Shokashru Sagar Vishoshanam Atyudaram. Because Supreme Lord is Atyudaram, Ati Udaram, supremely munificent. And Asam Hare Avinitakhila Lokatibra Shokashru Sagar Vishoshanam Atyudaram. Sammohanaya Rachitam Nijamaya Yasya. Supreme Lord, He does not descend under external energy. Sammohanaya Rachitam Nijamaya Yasya. He descends by his own free will. Bhumandalam Munikrite Makaradhvajasya. So Bhumandalam is his eyebrows. So Lord Kapila says that by meditation on the eyebrows of the Supreme Lord, one becomes free from the vasanas, from the lusty desires within the heart. This is a secret that Lord reveals in this section. So he speaks about the thought process of a yogi, the liberation of a yogi and his state of mind in this chapter 28. Then in the chapter 29, where we are also going to focus, Devhuti has further questions. So she wants to know more details of bhakti. She says, please tell me more details of bhakti. Please tell me nature of the time, Kala, and the nature of cycle of birth and death, Bhava. So she glorifies Lord Kapila, and Lord Kapila describes the various classes of bhakti. And this section is very, very relevant for devotees because he describes Satviki Bhakti, Rajasi Bhakti, and Tamasi Bhakti. That means Bhakti in the three modes of material nature and their characteristics. By reading that, we can know what kind of Bhakti we are performing. So Bhakti is always pure, but the practitioners of Bhakti are in different modes. And actually, if anything is most relevant in this section is this chapter, 29th chapter. Because by understanding Satviki Bhakti, Rajasi Bhakti, Tamasi Bhakti, and Transcendental Bhakti, transcendental to three modes of material nature, we can know where we stand. And then in the next section, Lord Kapila speaks about the offenses which are obstacle in the bhakti and its solution. So that's where we are going to focus. We are going to come back once I cover this quickly. Okay, so then she wanted to know about jivas. Lord Kapila speaks about the jivas. She wanted to know the nature of time. That was her question. Lord Kapila speaks about the nature of time in this chapter. And continues the description of time in the next chapter also by saying how life and death of a materialist, of a person who is absorbed in sense gratification passes, how he lives and how he dies. So he commits violence, he goes to hell, and he suffers old age, disease, death. So many ghastly, many fearful descriptions are given. The influence of time, and also his post-death experience. How he suffers on the way to hell. He's bitten by a dog. He suffers hunger and thirst, and then he falls in fatigue. He undergoes various hellish punishments, and finally he attains lower births. And after long time of evolution, he gets a human birth. Lord Kapila speaks about the influence of time on living entities. That was the question of Devahuti, his mother. And he continues that description about the influence of time on Jiva in the next chapter as well. That is chapter 31. So in chapter 31 is entitled as Lord Kapila's instructions on the movements of the living entities. And I remember long back, I think in 1996, there was an article by a professor and a very senior doctor in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Dr. Sutradhar, if I'm not wrong. Uh, he's a basically gynecologist, and he found the growth of an embryo according to uh, the various scans that they perform in laboratories. It was exactly matching as given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this chapter, 3.31, third canto, 31st chapter. So Lord Kapila describes the growth of embryo within the womb and how the jiva, in the form of embryo, suffers within the womb. He is bitten by the worms, he eats his own stool, and he's packed in a dark sack, and he prays to the Supreme Lord in that precarious condition. He begs for mercy of Lord, and many things are given. But when he comes out of the womb, he forgets. Unfortunately, he forgets. So Lord Kapila basically wants to say that not only one suffers in the hellish life, but one also suffers the lower species of life, and then one suffers in the womb uh, due to reactions of fruitive activities. And this is how the life of a materialistic person is described in this chapter, chapter 31. but embryology is also verified by modern gynecologists from this chapter. Okay. So next chapter is also continuation of same theme, the entanglement in fruitive activities. So he speaks about the attached workers, people who work in this world but are also attached to enjoying the fruits of their action. And there are also detached workers who execute their duties with detachment, which means that they offer the fruits of their work to the Supreme Lord. And Lord Kapila finally criticizes the people who are attached, those who work with a attached mentality or with a mentality to enjoy the fruits of their action. So he says that basically they should perform devotional service or bhakti, which he has been recommending, also recommends in this chapter, 32nd chapter. And he says that even jnana and vairagya is quickly achieved by the practice of bhakti. So he again begins to describe the symptom of a devotee, a bhakta. And this is how this chapter also concludes. He speaks about various paths are ultimately meant to realize Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And devotional service is a quick process. So Lord Kapila, Prabhupada writes in one purport that other processes like jnana and yoga are like climbing the staircase, and you gradually climb up and up and up. But Bhakti Yoga is like uh, boarding an elevator, a lift that takes you soon right to the top floor without having to go step by step process. So Lord Kapila also, in his own words, says the same thing towards the end of this 32nd chapter. And then he says that uh, towards the end of this chapter, he also speaks about that this knowledge, the entire knowledge from chapter 25 to 32nd, should not be given to unqualified people. It should be only given to qualified people. And qualified people are those who have Shraddha, who has faith in his words, who are not envious of him. So this is how he concludes this chapter. And in the last chapter, this is the last chapter of third canto as well. Devahuti offers various prayers because she knew that after giving his teachings, Lord Kapila would depart, would leave Devahuti and retire to the forests. So she offers her heartfelt prayers. And some of those prayers are very heart touching, very relevant for us. So two of those prayers are very nectarian. I would like to recite this. So she says that Yannamadeya Shravananu Kirtana Yasmaranat Yat Pravanata Pikvachit Shvadopi Sadhya Savanaya Kalpate Uta Punastu Bhagavan Darshana. So he says that, my dear Lord, whoever recites your holy name, may he be born in the family of dog eaters, but that person is worshipable and is fit to perform all the yajnas. He can deliver the whole world. And then in the next verse, she also glorifies again the holy name of the Lord. This verse was also quoted by Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita. Aho bata shwappachoto gariyan yajjivagre vartate nama tubhyam te pustapas juhnuhur susnurarya brahmanuchur nama grananti ete. So almost same verse but in different words. She says that Aho bato shwappachoto gariyan. My dear Lord, yajjiva agre vartate nama tubhyam. My dear Lord, people on whose tongue the holy name is vibrating, even though they may be born in the family of dog eaters, they are best of the human beings. They are Aryas. And such people have been to all the holy places, they have read all the Shastras, they have performed all types of austerities, tepus tapus, And then they have come to this position of chanting the holy names. So anybody who has been chanting holy names with a commitment is not an ordinary person. After acquiring the sukriti, the pious credits of visiting all the holy places, taking bath in all holy rivers, reading all the shastras, performing all types of yagyas, one finally becomes qualified to chant the holy names of the Lord. This is the glory of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So she offers prayers like this, glorifies, and Lord Kapila finally gives the final instruction to his mother and left. Later on, Shukdev Goswami speaks how Devhuti also achieved perfection by focusing her mind on bhakti and meditation on the Lord's form. So she attained bliss and her sansara, her entanglement was destroyed. She went back home, back to Godhead finally in her pure spiritual body. And in the last section of this chapter, 33rd chapter, 33rd chapter is also entitled as Activities of Lord Kapila. So towards the end of this chapter, the activities of Lord Kapila are given only in 3 shlokas. Basically, he went towards northeast, Ganga Sagar. Ganga Sagar is also famous for Lord Kapila's ashram. And Bhagavatam says that even now he is staying there in trance, in samadhi, for the deliverance of 3 words. That is his activities. And one who hears or teaches this knowledge attains the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and is abode. That is a Phalashruti, or that is a benefit of hearing the teachings of Lord Kapila. Now, why I was running so fast to cover this, you may be wondering, is because I wanted to focus on a certain section, which I said was very relevant for all of us. So this is offenses in bhakti, because all of us are practicing bhakti yogis, and therefore we must know this. What is detrimental, rather most detrimental for our devotional service. So Lord Kapila speaks on in verse 21st. Basically, these are different degrees of envy, and I'm also citing the verdict or the purports of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this section. So we'll just take 4 verses, 21, 22, 23, and 24 of chapter 29. So, just one second. Yeah. So in verse 21, Lord Kapila speaks about very mild degree of envy. It's called avagya. And there is a word in the shloka also. Tam avagyaya mamartya kurute archa vidambanam. So basically translation is, I am present in every living entity as a super soul. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply an imitation. Now, who would like his devotional service, his devotional practice to be an imitation? Right? So imitation means he wants to say that it doesn't bear any productive result. And he uses the word avagya. So avagya, Prabhupada translates avagya as disregard. But avagya basically means to see someone from little above. Ava means down, and gya means to know, or to know that somebody is down. So it's a very innocent feeling in us. We are thinking like, of course I am better. Of course I'm better than that person. We don't have to say this. We don't say also, but there is a sense of superiority complex. Of course I am better. That complex, that superiority complex is called avagya. And if we have that, then Lord Kapila says then our worship of the deity in the temple is simply an imitation. That means Lord doesn't accept it. So we very quickly and innocently and sometimes unconsciously assume that we are better than others. We have this subtle feeling within us. We don't say or do anything harmful to others, but we carry this feeling. And actually, bhakti begins when we really understand that we are insignificant. That is beginning of real devotional service. Until then, it is, as Lord Kapila says, imitation. So one time there was one man who was living in Bengal. He was from an aristocratic family, and he also became attracted to Krishna consciousness. He decided to leave his hometown in the old age and decided to settle in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, he met his guru. He wanted to take initiation from his guru. His guru said, so this person, this Bengali man had little pride in him. So his guru said, I will not give you initiation. Come some other time. He came another time. His guru still refused. I will not give you initiation. Come some other time. Come later. And this is how the guru kept postponing his initiation. And finally, one day, Guruji relented. He said, okay, I will give you initiation. First, go and find anyone who is inferior to you, who is lower than you, inferior to you. Find out any living entity, then I will give you initiation. So he went in Vrindavan near Govardhan. He saw one scavenger, Bhangi, one who sweeps the streets. And he was thinking in his mind, this person is so poor, he sweeps the streets. But he is sweeping the streets of Vrindavan. And dust of Vrindavan is so purifying, covering all his body. He's better than me. He's certainly better than me. Then he saw a cow. And he thought in his mind, this cow, I think I'm better than this cow. But then he gave a second thought. No. I'm not better than this cow because this cow gives milk. And cow is doing benefit to so many people by giving milk, and even cow dung is so pure. My stool is useless. Cow dung is so pure. This cow is better than me. Then he saw a dog. I think I'm better than this dog. Then he gave a second thought. He said, no, I'm not even better than the dog because I go to sleep peacefully in the night. But this dog is guarding the house of his master. Dog is keeping the thieves away. I am certainly not better than this dog. He's thinking in his mind. So like this, he was scanning all the living creatures around him. And by Krishna's mercy, by his Guru's mercy, he was finding every living entity better than him. Finally, he saw a worm in the stool, the lowest of all. Worm in the stool. And he began to think, am I better than this worm in the stool? But then he said, no. When this worm, he actually helps decomposing the stool, and he's helping keep the environment very clean. I'm only passing the stool. I'm polluting the environment, and he's helping the environment remain clean, keep it clean. I'm not even better than that worm in the stool. So he had attained the real mercy of Krishna. He went to his Guru and he said, Guru Maharaj, I don't think I can ever attain initiation from you because I could not find anyone who was better than me. And his Guru embraced him. He said, yes, today you are qualified for initiation because you don't have avagya. So this is the point where real devotional service begins, when we truly understand that We are not better than anyone else. Krishna is best. Then in verse number 22nd, Lord Kapila says that he says that one who worships the deity of the Godhead in the temples but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart must be in ignorance and is compared to one who offers oblations to ashes. Now, if somebody performs a fire sacrifice, we know that oblations are offered in the firewood, not in the ashes. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the increased degree of envy is upeksha. The first one was avagya, this is upeksha. So upeksha means the envy is increased to a larger degree, and it is visible when we want to avoid somebody intentionally, when we don't want to look at somebody's face, when we don't like somebody's existence, and we consciously justify such neglect. We have some justification. He's a bad person. After all, he did injustice to me. And like this kind of attitude we develop. So Lord Kapila says that if one has this kind of fever, then his devotional practice is like offering oblations into the ashes. That means in other words, it is all zero. So yes, we may not like somebody. It happens in the course of our life, undeniably. It happens. But still, we must know that Supreme Lord is present in every living entity's heart. So we may even avoid some people, but with what attitude? Attitude is very important. We must know that Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. So Srila Prabhupada said that a devotee respects everyone. He respects even a tiger, but he doesn't embrace tiger. Respecting tiger doesn't mean embrace tiger. But the attitude of avoiding the tiger is self-safety, for the safety purpose. Therefore, it's important what kind of attitude we have towards others. Upeksha. In verse 23, he speaks about dvesha, even more incensed degree of envy. So he says in verse 23, one who offers me respect but is envious of the bodies of others and is therefore a separatist never attains peace of mind. Because of his inimical behavior towards other living entities. Now, this dvesha is an increased degree of envy, and one in affected by dvesha, in heart of heart, wishes bad for somebody. May his projects doom, may he slip and fall, may he, you know, may he die, may he get injured. So such kind of upeksha is like avoiding, but here one is not just avoiding but wishing bad for that person. Inimical behavior. One is wishing bad. And here separatist, Lord Kapila uses the word the separatist. So the word separatist, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that separatist means one doesn't feel pain for others. Unsympathetic. Unsympathetic. And wishes bad for others. That is dvesha. And this is almost impossible to um almost impossible to reverse. The earlier two phases, that means avagya and upeksha, they can be reversed. So basically, we have to stop when we obtain us for others. That's where we need to stop. If we come to the stage of Dvaisha, it's almost impossible to take a U-turn. It's very difficult because it is further incensed. And Lord Kapila also says that such a person gains no peace of mind, remains always disturbed. And how can we think of Supreme Lord? How can we think of practicing Krishna consciousness if there is no peace of mind? We cannot. Then the fourth and the highest degree of envy is given in verse number 24, where Lord Kapila speaks about Ninda, although not directly given in. No, it's given avamanina. Avamanina means to criticize somebody. So he says, Lord Kapila says that, my dear mother, even if one worships with proper rituals and paraphernalia, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living entities never pleases me by the worship of my deities in the temple. This is highest degree of envy, this fourth degree. It is something like Daksha directly head-on criticizing Lord Shiva, Ninda, directly criticizing without any hesitation. One outrightly criticizes considering oneself a great personality. So, like just like Daksha did for Lord Shiva. So, a very scaring section. My purpose was not to scare you, but fortunately, Lord Kapila also gives solution in the next few verses. We'll see that. So, from verse number 26 to 29, he speaks what is the cure for that. So in the 25th verse, he says that performing his prescribed duty, one should worship the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until one realizes my presence in his own heart and in the hearts of other living entities as well. So basically, what Lord Kapila is saying is that one should continue to perform prescribed duty, and very surprisingly, Lord Kapila also says that one should worship the deity. Earlier, he said such kind of worship of deity is useless, it's zero, it's like offering oblations in the ashes. But here he says that one should continue to worship the deity until one realizes my presence in his own heart and in the hearts of other living entities as well. So Acharya has explained that Lord Kapila here recommends that one not become a very advanced, one not pretend to be very advanced. Rather, one performs prescribed duties and continue to perform deity worship, worshipping the deities. Should not ignore that. And then he says further in verse number 26. Okay, so don't stop worshipping the Lord. In 25, Lord Kapila said, don't stop worshipping the Lord. Perform your prescribed duty. Don't assume yourself to be a very advanced devotee because you have envy. And in 26, he says that as the blazing fire of death, I cause great fear to whoever makes the least discrimination between himself and other living entities because of different outlook. So, although Prabhupada translates here as bodies of living entities, or other living entities, but Lord Kapila says Udaram. Lord Kapila uses the word Udaram, and Udaram means basically belly, stomach. So Acharyas explained that one should feed the devotees. If you feel envious of somebody, you feed that person prasadam, or Maha prasadam. Serve him by feeding him prasadam. And also respect that person. One should respect that person and feed him prasadam. So we have two problems. We have ichha dvesh, attraction and aversion. Attraction to sense gratification and aversion to austerities and Krishna consciousness. So these are the two solutions given by Lord Kapila for both attraction and aversion. The attraction for sense gratification is overcome by feeding others. What is the greatest sense gratification? Eating. And therefore we should feed others. Prasadam. Attraction is overcome. And what is the second? Aversion. Aversion means we want to be disrespectful to others. So Lord Kapila's solution is respect others. Respect others and feed them prasadam. Okay, so these are uh, two solutions given by Lord Kapila. Feeding the, not just two, but four solutions. Continue your prescribed duty, worship the deities, continue the deity worship, feed prasadam to the devotees, and respect every living entity. I think my time is up. I generally follow the timeline protocols strictly. So thank you all very much for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you, Broji. Are there any questions that I can take one or two questions maybe if anybody has?
Hare Krishna Dandat Pranam. Hare Krishna Maharaj Prabhuji.
Okay. Fine.
Dandat Pranam Prabhuji. Am I audible Prabhuji? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Dandat Pranam Maharaj Prabhu. Am I audible?
Yes, Broji, you are audible.
Prabhuji, my last part, my audio was not clear. He told that by feeding devotees, attachment can be avoided. But aversion, do you say anything how to avoid?
Yeah. Basically, our problem is attraction and aversion. We have attraction for sense gratification.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And one of the greatest sense gratification is eating. So therefore, by feeding others, we can overcome that attraction. Eating. And we are
Yes,
averse to.
Prabhu. That part I understood, Prabhu. That, yes.
So Pooji, what I want to say is that attraction, we have attraction for sense gratification.
Hare Krishna.
Can you hear me, bro? Hare Krishna. Am I
I think
audible?
he's
Now
saying
I can hear, Prabhu. Prabhuji, now I can hear. About attraction, I understood, Prabhu. About aversion.
Aversion is we are averse to respecting others.
Yes, Prabhu.
We are averse to give honor to others. So therefore, Lord Kapila says, respect everyone, all living entities. Is that all right, bro?
Understood, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Anybody
Thank
have
you very
any
much.
other
Hare
question?
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for such an enlightening class. We know that the time is very short. Still, you covered all the chapters. Thank you. We only we have to hear Bhagavatam. That is the main motive. So, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Asimanda Prabhu. Asimanda Krishna Prabhu, can you do the vote of thanks?
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam. Dandat Pranam, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, actually, class was wonderful. You went through whole, that 4 or 5 chapters, which is Kapila Deva's instruction to Devahuti. It was nice and it was enlightening. It is encouraging us read Srila Prabhupada's book more and more, because Srila Prabhupada's books has lot of points, but sometimes we are not reading. And I think it is encouraging that what you mentioned some points to read Srila Prabhupada's these books and Bhagavatam and his purports. This really help us. And your points also, whatever you pointed out, will help. And last 4 slokas also, it was nice, because we know, but again, when we are hearing like devotees like you and brahmacharis, it will actually touch our heart. It is really touch me. I think others. It's thank you. And also you spared your time. It is a very important time, because in India it is very late night. But you shared you also given your time as association with for us. It's wonderful, Prabhuji. And thank you. And also we'll expect your association in the future also. Please accept our invitation anytime. And we'll thank you again, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. And we'll chant 3 times Hare Krishna Mahamantra for this wonderful and enlightening class.
One second.
Hare Krishna.
I just want to give a disclaimer that what I spoke, I'm not a role model for that. I'm also practicing. I just shared with all of you what I heard in Parampara.
No, Prabhuji, that's what enlightening us. Hare Krishna. We'll chant 3 times for the wonderful class. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama.
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Srimad Prabhu also. He's giving this opportunity by introducing you devotees from Calcutta. Thank you very much. We'll do Vancha Kalpa.
Yes,
Vancha
yes.
Kalpa.
पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय,
Maharaj Prabhu ki jai. Hare
Jai.
जय।
Thank you, Prabhuji. We will be continuing our Arati today. Sadant Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. We are in Sundar Prabhu's house.
Yeah, okay. We can proceed with the Arati.
Okay, Prabhu.
Oh, lot of
Hare
devotees
Krishna.
are
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam.
there. Dandat Pranam. Anutam Gopal Prabhu and team is also there, it seems. Wonderful.
Yes,
Very
Prabhu.
good. Okay, Prabhuji, go ahead.
ഇവിടുത്തെ യാത്ര എന്തുണ്ട് മലയാളം?
ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ. भिन्नस्ति सर्वस्य समस्तबन्धं नैवात्मनोहर्षकृतं सुबन्धम् मन्मानसे कामत्रया शिवोरे छायाग्रे दुःखमये निवसा रावतरे सौरहरे विराय दोषोदोषोदितं देवगन्धम् नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गदान्तगोकुलचौरम् अनेकजन्मादितपावगौरं सौरागधन्यं पुरुषं नमामि अनंत कोटि वैष्णव नमाते हरिदास श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत नाथ श्री माता गौर भक्त श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की अयोध्या धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की मायापुर धाम की तुलसी देवी की बंसी देवी की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की श्रीमद भगवद गीता की श्रीमद भागवतम की हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की गौर प्रेमानंदे और गुरुमूर्ति और गोविंद और भगवान गंगा और श्रीला प्रभुपाद और महाराज गुरु प्रेमानंदे पुरुषोत्तम महामहोत्सव की पुरुषोत्तम महामहोत्सव की पुरुषोत्तम महामहोत्सव की नवरात्रम की श्रीला प्रभुपाद महाराज की गुरु प्रेमानंदे गोवर्धनधरं वन्दे गोपालं गोपरूपिणं गोकुलोत्सवमीशानां गोविन्दं गोपिकाप्रियं गोवर्धनधरं वन्दे गोपालं गोपरूपिणं गोकुलोत्सवमीशानां गोविन्दं गोपिकाप्रियं गोवर्धनधरं वन्दे गोपालं गोपरूपिणं गोकुलोत्सवमीशानां गोविन्दं गोपिकाप्रियं वन्दे नवघनश्यामं विभुजं मुरलीधरं पीताम्बरधरं देवं नारदं पुरुषोत्तमं वन्दे नवघनश्यामं विभुजं मुरलीधरं पीताम्बरधरं देवं नारदं पुरुषोत्तमं वन्दे नवघनश्यामं विभुजं मुरलीधरं पीताम्बरधरं देवं नारदं पुरुषोत्तमं श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमदशाकम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य वर्णानि
Vaginau Purushau Loke Sarasakshara Evacha Saras Sarvani Bhutani Udastokshara Uchyate Uttama Purushastvanya Paramatme Syudhamritaha Yo Lokatrayamavishya Vipasya Vyaya Ishvaraha Yasmat Saravati Soham Aksharatabhito Tamaha Adosmi Loke Vedesha Prasita Purushotamaha Yo Mameva Samudho Janati Purushottamam Sarvavi Pragatimam Sarva Bhavena Bharata Punchatamam Shastram Samuktam Mayanaka Etad Bhutva Buddhimansya Kritakrishya Bharata
Srimad Bhagavad Gita Brahma Vidyam Yogasastre Sri Krishna Vinu Samvade Purushottam Yoga Nama Panchadashodhyaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Proceed. Lot of thanks for the host.
Okay.
The auspicious month, the Purushottam month. So we have to glorify the Supreme Lord Krishna, get Sundar Prabhu and Manjushamada's house. So we are praying to Supreme Lord for all these spiritual problems that follow procedures they are in their future life. We have to pray to Supreme Lord by chanting 3 times Maha mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare
Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for hosting today. And we'll continue tomorrow with same Bhagavatam class by Krishna Kishore Prabhu from Ujjain, and followed by Arati and Bhagavad Gita chanting. Please join tomorrow also. Thank you very much. Raji, any other announcements?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we may announce about today's initiation. All everyone knows, but as we all are gathered, announce about devotees to take an initiation, shelter, and aspiration. We may wish them all the very best. first happening after initiation ceremony.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we will conclude. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya
Kripa
eva cha
sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
श्री पुरुषोत्तम मास की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री भगवद गीता की जय, चौराष्टक की जय, जय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।
Hari Hari Bol.